Welcome to another Quick Truth. My name is Derek Truesdale, and this week I want to continue our study through the book of James. This week starting James chapter 2. And the idea that I want to cover really goes through verses 1 through 13. But in this, I just want to cover the first 7, and because it's such a long passage, we get a snapshot of the idea just in the first 7 verses. And it's really talking about favoritism and how we go about doing that. Are we showing too much favor to people simply because they have money and material wealth? Are we mistreating the people that don't have that money? So we're looking at these verses, 1 through 7. My brothers, show no partiality as you hold the faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory. For if a man wearing a gold ring and fine clothing comes into your assembly, and a poor man in shabby clothing also comes in, and if you pay attention to the one who wears the fine clothing and say, you sit here in a good place, while you say to the poor man, you stand over there, or sit down at my feet, have you not then made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? Listen, my beloved brothers, has not God chosen those who are poor in the world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom which he has promised to those who love him? But you have dishonored the poor man. Are not the rich the ones who oppress you and the ones who drag you into court? Are they not the ones who blaspheme the honorable name by which you were called? So we look at these verses. We shouldn't be showing favoritism, especially when it comes to the area of money. Because when we look at this, when we have rich people come into our church, we can even experience this today. A rich person comes into church and everyone's tripping over themselves to get to this person, give them a good seat, make sure that they know they can come back again, make sure we valued their visit. And then a poor person comes in and sometimes they can just be ignored and they have to find their own way and we don't even pay attention to them. So how are we, showing our care for people? Is it, limited to just people with money and material goods? And that's what we want to analyze in our lives according to these verses. So as the church, we shouldn't be acting like the world does, because in the world, if someone has money, it makes sense that they would have preferential treatment. Like if you have money and a lot of it, there's no limits to what you can really do. But a poor person can have a really hard time of it. So that's how it works in the world. In the church, it's supposed to be different. Because in these verses, we see, like we read, God usually chooses the poor people to be rich in faith and be heirs of the kingdom. So when they come into the church, we shouldn't be mimicking the world. We should be thinking how God does. We should be looking to the poor man and giving them honor. So we've seen that, this is how it should work out. And it's a few different reasons why we should do this. And one is because God doesn't show partiality. In Deuteronomy 10, 12 through 17, those verses are talking about God does not show partiality and he does not accept bribes. So he's the God of the universe. If a person's rich, that person doesn't have any higher standing with God simply because he has money. Like God owns everything in the universe. So why would he need our cash to give us any better standing with him? God doesn't need any of that. He cherishes, character and faith and righteousness, not necessarily money. So we can't bribe our way into a relationship with God. He doesn't show partiality. Also, a second is that Jesus didn't show partiality by material wealth. But when you think about it, he did give honor to where it was due. Like he had his 3 disciples that he spent more time with, James, John, and Peter. But that wasn't because of material wealth. It wasn't because of something so surface level as money. And in Romans 13:7, it says, give honor to whom it is due. So these verses aren't saying don't give honor to anyone. It's just saying don't give undeserved honor to people who just have money, who don't necessarily have faith and character all the time. And continuing through here in verse 8, it says that if you love your neighbor as yourself, you're fulfilling the law. The verse actually says, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You are doing well. And that's a concept all throughout the Bible, and it's one of Jesus's main teachings. And when we think about who is our neighbor, is it just the rich person or is it just the poor person, or how poor can they get? Jesus gives the example that kind of blows the minds of the Jewish people around him. He says they're thinking, who's the poorest of the Jewish people that we should be obligated to help? And Jesus says, well, there's this good Samaritan. And there's an example that he gives of that. And the Samaritans are just people that are disliked by the Jewish people. So that wasn't even in the realm of thinking or, the realm of possibility. But Jesus goes there because he's saying it's not limited. It's unlimited. Everyone's our neighbor, no matter how rich or poor, and we need to be going out of our way to serve these people the best way that we can. And the Bible's filled with this concept, loving your neighbor as yourself. The final 6 commandments of the 10 commandments are like that. The first 4 are about our relationship to God. The latter 6 are about our relationship to other people. So if we want to be really serving God, we need to be treating other people as we would like to be treated. Because if a poor person comes into our church and we think to ourselves, if I was poor, I would want someone to do this for me. Now, when we take that concept and that thought process and we look at this person, we need to do that. And we can't necessarily wait till when we feel like doing it, because that's just not how life works. If we waited all the time until we felt like doing something, we'd hardly ever get anything done. We'd probably never go to work because no one feels, we rarely feel like it, but we do it. And that's the same thing here. It's not just dry religion at that point either. Sometimes we just have to do things and we don't necessarily feel it. And that's not a bad thing. We can still achieve good things without the feeling behind it. And sometimes that feeling comes later. So now we've seen a few different reasons why we should treat people without favoritism, especially according to money. Because God doesn't show favorites, Jesus doesn't show favoritism, and we should be treating other people as we would want to be treated. So this has been another quick truth. Thanks for watching. God bless, and I'll see you next time.